Together in our homelands, let's have a joyful, historic convention. Blessings to you all. Miigwech.
Please remain standing for the presentation of colors by the Illinois State Police Honor Guard.
Detail. Attention. Carry colors. Forward. March. Left. 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 Colors. Colors turn.
Please welcome William and Charles Harrison from South Carolina to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please welcome the Soul Children of Chicago to sing our national anthem.
Stripes and bright stars through the perilous fights, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming. On the Rockies prickling, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? On the land of the free and the home of the brave,
Right. Peace. Forward. March.
Welcome to the greatest city in the world, Chicago. where Ida B. Wells and Jane Addams organized to deliver real transformative change across this country. Chicago, where Reverend Jesse Jackson united people from all different backgrounds to keep hope alive. And to a community organizer on the south side of Chicago, Barack Obama rose to the White House reminding us that yes, we can. And now this city of hard work and caring people is where Democrats will celebrate President Joe Biden and nominate Kamala Harris for President of the United States of America. As the son of a family that worked to make ends meet, I know that Kamala Harris, the daughter of a mom who worked hard every single day, she is going to look out for the interest of everyday people. I know that as a fellow former social studies teacher, that Governor Tim Walz will never shrink from standing up for our democracy and for those most in need. And as a black man, raising a little black girl on the west side of Chicago, I know that my daughter Brayden will see not only a reflection of herself in the White House, but she will experience the deepest part of American values. Think about it. What will it take to build the middle class and make it easier for families not only to get by, but to get ahead? It will take someone with toughness to stand up for us. And let me tell you, America, Kamala's got it. What will it take to defend our fundamental rights and our freedoms? It will take someone with leadership who would fight for us. And let me tell you, America, leadership, Kamala, she's got it. And what will it take to defeat MAGA Republicans and move our country forward and not backwards? It will take everyone, and let me tell you all, Kamala, she's got us. From Mississippi to Pennsylvania to Delaware, Kamala Harris, she's got us. From Michigan to Wisconsin to Nevada to California and right here in Illinois, Kamala Harris, she's got us. To the child care workers, to the tip workers, Kamala Harris, she's got us. And to make sure that this country ensures that families will have access to real affordable housing, to create a pathway to the American dream, Kamala Harris, she's got us. Together we can build a better, brighter future. And there's no better place to start that than right here in the greatest freaking city in the world, the city of Chicago. God bless you all. Thank you.
This is our town. We've got steel in our spines, iron in our veins, and hope in our hearts. We've got the flavor, the guts, the grit, and those big shoulders you've heard so much about. We're a bold city, a proud city, a who you callin' second city, where 77 neighborhoods are one. A city of giants, a city with heart, a city with heroes, a sweet, sweet place to call home. We were born ready, baptized by fire, tireless, tenacious, tested, trusted. And like someone else we know, when we fight, we win. We're ready to rise to the challenge, to rise to new heights. Rise, 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 up and away we go. We're ready to scrape the sky and reach for the stars, to stand tall for tomorrow, to witness greatness. We ain't going back. We've got big things to do, big shoes to fill, big dreams to realize. We ain't afraid of nothing. No nonsense, no fear. Oh yeah, we're ready. So America, welcome to Chicago. We've got our dancing shoes on. We've got our game faces on. America, we look like you, sound like you, work like you, dream like you. We feel you, America. We see you, America. Hey, make some noise so we can hear you, America. Welcome to Chicago.
Hello, my friends. My fellow Democrats, I started my journey to this stage in 1988. I was 12 years old, and my family was watching the Democratic National Convention. Now, to be honest, I wanted to watch something else. But we all knew when my grandfather sat in his chair, the TV was his. But folks, when Reverend Jackson came on, I paid attention. A black man from South Carolina, raised by a single mother. That was me. And as long as I live, I will never forget what he said. He challenged young people to hope and to dream. So that's exactly what I did. I dreamed big, I worked hard, and I never lost hope. When our power was cut off, when there was nothing in the fridge, when we lost our home to a con man, I never lost hope. And now, my friends, I'm standing on the same convention stage that inspired me, and I'm the chair of the Democratic Party, the world's oldest political party. Folks, only in America. And that's the beautiful thing about this country that I love so much. Hope and hard work can take you anywhere. You can go to college, you can start your own business, you can even win the Olympics. That's the America Democrats believe in, and that's the America Democrats are fighting for. So 4 years ago, my friends, we were a country divided by fear, and we were stuck under a man who preached bigotry and hatred. Hope was lost. But my friends, we found hope in President Biden and Vice President Harris, and the 80 million Americans who stood by their side. And now we are united. We're united in our pursuit of progress because, my friends, they saw us. They fought for us. They heard us. And under their transformational leadership, we have forgiven billions in student loans. We have expanded access to health care, and we have strengthened the middle class. But the fight continues, and there is still more work to do. You know, I know that when we elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, they will build on our accomplishments, and they will create a country that works for every American. They will invest in our dreams and our futures, and hope will light our path forward. They will lead us in the fight for America, and believe me, when we fight, we win. And folks, we can never forget who we are fighting for. This election is about Americans who are watching right now, wondering who's going to finally pave that dirt road, or make it easier to feed their family, or get medical bills under control. This election is about those who believe anybody can achieve their dreams if they work hard and trust in the endless possibilities of America. This election is about communities who need to see that hope and joy will always overcome fear and chaos. This election is about every little boy inspired by a party chair who looks like him, and every little girl who will finally see a president who looks like her. My friends, we are paving a path for them. We're working toward a brighter future for them, and we need each and every one of you to join us. In my beloved home state of South Carolina, our motto is, while I breathe, I hope. Folks, I believe in the power of hope, but it's going to take more than hope to win this election. So in the next 78 days, our motto can't be just, while I breathe, I hope. It must be, while I breathe, I vote. Because that is how we make hope real for all of America. America, let's vote for Democrats up and down the ticket. Let's save our democracy, and let's vote for our MVP, Kamala Harris, and our coach, Tim Walz. Thank you all so much for being here. And now, it is indeed my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, who will be co-chair for tonight. This is a young woman who is the current lieutenant governor of the great state of Minnesota. And when Tim Walz becomes vice president, she will become the first Native American governor in this great country. Folks, let's welcome Peggy Flanagan.
Thank you, Jamie. As we gather together on this historic night, we remember those who came before us, who fought and prayed this moment into existence. The suffragists and the abolitionists, the activists who fought for our rights, the leaders who paved the way for us all. Their courage and conviction shaped the course of history. Their memory reminds us that the fight for freedom always passes from one generation to the next. We owe it to them and to ourselves to carry their legacy forward. Tonight we pay tribute to those who dared to dream of a country that truly stands for liberty and justice for all. Next, we'll hear from one of those people, a lifelong advocate for civil rights, Maxine Waters.
Wow. Hello, delegates. Now, you know, I've seen a lot in my lifetime. I was just 22 years old when Fannie Lou Hamer made her presence known at another Democratic convention. It was in 1964 in Atlantic City. And she arrived with a group of black delegates from Mississippi. And she simply asked that her delegates be seated in place of the state's all-white delegation. She told the people in the room about the violence she suffered at the hands of white police because she, a black woman, had demanded her right to vote. When she finished, she asked the country a simple but profound question: is this America? She didn't get the outcome she was hoping for in Atlantic City, but you can bet that when the official Mississippi delegation was seated at the convention 4 years later, Fannie Lou Hamer was sitting there with them. Now here we are, Here we are, 60 years later at another Democratic convention with Kamala Harris as our party's nominee. Oh, so I know there is no better leader to marshal us into the future. Kamala has been a courtroom prosecutor, a district attorney, an attorney general, a United States senator, vice president of the United States. And when the dust settles in November, and Americans of all stripes have elected her their president, I know she'll be thinking about Fannie Lou, who I happen to know is one of Kamala's heroes. In that moment, all of us, from New York to Pennsylvania, to Arizona, to California, we can ask ourselves, is this America? And we will be able to say loudly and proudly, you're damn right it is.
Please welcome President and CEO of the NAACP, Derek Johnson, and President and CEO of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation, Melanie Campbell.
Good evening. I'm Derek Johnson, President and CEO of the NAACP, and I'm here to do my black job. Since the founding of our nation, we have been on an unending march to protect this imperfect union. Tonight, we celebrate the power of the collective, of what is possible when we are all in for all people. But as we do, let us not forget the history that preceded this moment or the history makers who prepared us for it. As we just heard, in 1964, the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, led by Fannie Lou Hamer, and Mississippi NAACP State President Aaron Henry, who stood tall and challenged a process that excluded them to ensure that we will all be recognized here tonight. In 1973, the historic elections of Atlanta's Mayor Maynard Jackson, Detroit's Mayor Comey Young, and LA's Mayor Tom Bradley paved the way for another historic election just 10 years later, right here in Chicago, with the election of Harold Washington as the first black mayor of the city of Chicago. And in 1988, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, in his second quest for the White House, inspired us all to keep hope alive. Now, this is important because we must all understand Black history is American history. And in this historic moment, we will write the next chapter together.
Good evening. I'm Melanie Campbell, President and CEO of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation and National Convener of the Black Women's Roundtable. We have come this far by faith. And for Black women, this moment has been a long time coming. Vice President Kamala Harris's path to becoming the Democratic nominee for President of the United States has been paved by the leadership, sacrifice, faith, and patriotism of generations of Black women. Black women like Dr. Dorothy Irene Height, Diane Nash, Ella Baker, Amelia Boynton Robinson, Barbara Jordan, Shirley Chisholm, and Reverend Willie Barrow. Women whose optimism about what America could be and their fight to make that vision real redefined the leadership role that Black women could play in moving our nation forward. As president, Kamala Harris will lead with power, brilliance, and strength from the highest office in the land.
Brothers and sisters, I don't know what this world is coming to.
We resist those attacks collectively, and we will stand together.
Do we believe in freedom?
Support human rights. We believe in that. Support self-determination. We're built on that.
Stronger together is not just a lesson from our history.
The institutions of this country belong to all of the people who inhabit it.
Jesse Jackson took to the stage at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, knowing the uphill battle he would face in composing the score of a harmonious nation.
Reverend Jackson started out very young. He opened the door, and he continues to do that even now, that all of us have a responsibility for other generations to come behind us.
Jesse Jackson's candidacy in 1984 helped to pave the way for Barack Obama's presidency in 2008. His 1988 candidacy helped to reshape the Democratic National Committee. His candidacy was before its time.
Fueled by passion and determination and marching to their own beat, our civil rights leaders laid the groundwork for lasting change, dreaming of a country where equality and justice inspired the next generation.
We need the energy of our young people. We need the wisdom of our elders. We all can be proud to say that we are truly a leading democracy and we respect people's ability to exist.
America is not like a blanket, one piece of unbroken cloth, the same color, the same texture, the same size. America is more like a quilt, many patches, many pieces, many colors, many sizes.
Standing on the shoulders of giants, Kamala Harris is the candidate who encompasses the brilliance, determination, analysis, and the action to carry the torch lit by the founders of the movement. There's only one choice to represent our collective voice.
What kind of country do we want to live in?
Value system of the modern Democratic Party has been shaped by the civil rights movement of the 1960s.
There's a direct line from '64, the National Democratic Convention, where Fannie Lou Hamer asked to be seated, and 2024, where a Black woman is the Democratic nominee. It's been a long struggle and a long journey, but Fannie's gonna be vindicated and Shirley Chisholm's gonna be vindicated in the 24 Democratic Convention.
I wonder if I could sit in a room with Shirley Chisholm, with Rosa Parks, with Coretta Scott King. What would they say about what's happening today?
The civil rights movement has been a key part of organizing the agenda, not just of the Democratic Party, but of democracy.
This is the hope that runs through Kamala Harris's leadership, one where hope, change, and freedom are the drumline of our democracy.
I stand before you today as a candidate for the Democratic nomination for the presidency of the United States of America.
I stand before you today to proudly announce I am now officially the Democratic nominee for President of the United States.
We must never surrender. America will get better. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive.
Please welcome founder and president of the Rainbow Push Coalition, Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Democrats, our first order of business is adopting an up-to-date convention agenda. When the Convention Rules Committee met, everyone was working on updating plans based on the significant changes that had just occurred. When the committee approved an agenda, it was a work in progress that members knew would need to be revised accordingly. We now have an agenda for the next 4 days. The agenda is included in the Standing Committee report booklet emailed to each convention participant. In addition to fantastic speakers and performers, tonight's agenda provides for adopting the up-to-date convention agenda, hearing the Credentials Committee report, hearing the Rules Committee report, and considering a resolution as recommended by the committee, hearing the Platform Committee report, and considering our national platform as recommended by the Platform Committee, and holding a confirmatory and ceremonial vote for our vice presidential nominee. Tuesday includes a ceremonial roll call for the presidential nominee. Wednesday, we'll hear ceremonial nominating speeches for our vice presidential nominee, and Governor Walz will make his acceptance speech. And on Thursday, my friends, we'll hear a ceremonial nominating speech for our presidential nominee, and Vice President Harris will make her acceptance speech. So now, delegates, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the up-to-date agenda. Is there a second? All in favor of approving the convention agenda, please say aye. All opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Are we going to the next one?
Please welcome Credentials Committee co-chairs, Secretary Marcia Fudge and James Roosevelt, Jr.
Greetings, my friends. It is an honor to have served as co-chair along my friend, Jim Roosevelt. Pursuant to the call, the Credentials Committee met and adopted a resolution to credential the delegates and alternates to the 2024 National Convention. I am pleased to report that there were no credentials issues to be decided by the committee. Their work allowed us to nominate 2 champions for democracy and freedom, Vice President Harris and Governor Walz.
Our delegate selection process is designed to ensure every voice is heard and every vision is heard, and our delegates accurately represent their electorates. Diversity is our party's strength, and I'm so proud to see the wonderful representation of our party and democracy here today. I am pleased to share that the Credentials Committee report was adopted and all delegates have been fully credentialed. In memory of Marvin Turner, we are going to have a great convention and we are going to win. Thank you.
Please welcome Rules Committee co-chair, Bishop Leah Daughtry.
Hello, Democrats. It was my honor to serve as co-chair of the Convention Rules Committee alongside my friend, Governor Tim Walz. Governor Walz is a little occupied this evening, But it's good to know that serving as co-chair of the Rules Committee is a ladder for promotion. The Rules Committee adopted the procedural rules of the convention on July 24th. They are based on long-standing processes governing our convention and ensured that we met all ballot access deadlines. The rules established the virtual nominating process for the party's nominees and set the stage for in-person votes at the convention to adopt our platform and resolutions recommended by the Rules Committee, as well as to cast celebratory votes on our nominees and hear their acceptance speeches. Under the Rules Committee authority, the Rules Committee is recommending for your approval one resolution. Contained in the committee's report, the resolution supports the current practice regarding automatic delegates, as well as other reforms to make our party stronger. The co-chairs are pleased to move the adoption of this resolution on behalf of the Rules Committee.
Thank you, Bishop Daughtry. The Rules Committee has moved the approval of the resolution. Is there a second? We have a second. I will now call for a voice vote on approving the resolution as recommended by the Rules Committee. All those in favor of the committee's recommendation to approve the unity resolution say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. I'm pleased to report for the record that with a majority of delegates having voted in the affirmative, the resolution has been approved. My thanks to our Rules Committee co-chairs and members for your efforts to build a transparent and inclusive party. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Please welcome Platform Committee co-chairs Mayor Mitch Landrieu and Mayor Regina Romero.
Hello, delegates. It is my pleasure to join Co-Chair Romero to present the national platform as recommended for approval by the committee. Our platform is grounded in our democratic values of hope, of progress, and love of our country. It makes a strong statement about the historic work that President Biden and Vice President Harris have accomplished hand in hand, and it presents a bold vision for our future. Kamala Harris will protect reproductive freedoms. Donald Trump will rip them away. Kamala Harris will lower costs for Americans, expand access to affordable health care, protect and strengthen Social Security and Medicare. Donald Trump will cut taxes for billionaires and big corporations, and he will pay for it by putting health care and Social Security on the chopping block. Kamala Harris is going to defend our democracy. Donald Trump is going to undermine it. The choice before us is clear, and the stakes could not be higher.
Buenas noches, demócratas. Mayor Landrieu, it was a pleasure to serve as your co-chair. I also want to recognize Louisa Terrell and the drafting subcommittee for their work. This platform was passed by the Platform Committee on July 16, prior to the President passing the torch in an act of love and patriotism. And it's the product of a comprehensive process to engage with leaders from all corners of our winning coalition. Hundreds of submissions, hours upon hours of hearing and testimonies, countless conversations with community leaders and grassroots Democrats. All were essential to producing a forward-looking vision for our party that echoes the voices of all. Vice President Harris is now carrying the torch. And she and Governor Walz are committed to delivering results for the American people. Then you have Donald Trump. His extreme agenda is working against everyday Americans. He is fighting for big oil, big pharma, big banks. But most of all, my fellow Democrats, he is fighting for himself. This November, we need to keep Democrats in office and elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz so we can implement an agenda that works for everyone. Cuando luchamos, ganamos. And with that, on behalf of the Platform Committee, we are pleased to move the adoption of the 2024 Democratic National Platform.
Thank you. The co-chairs have moved the approval of the national platform. Is there a second? We have a second. I will now call for a voice vote to approve the platform as recommended by the Platform Committee. All those in favor of approving the platform, please say aye. All opposed say no. Co-chairs, I am pleased to report for the record that with a majority of the delegates having voted in the affirmative, the platform has been adopted. Once again, thank you to our Platform Committee co-chairs and members, as well as the Platform Drafting Committee and its chair, Louisa Terrell.
When Kamala Harris set out to find her vice president, just 1 month ago, she was looking for someone who believes in our democracy, who works hard for the American people, and has an endless supply of hope for our future. She found that in Vice President Tim Walz. Come on, give it up for give it up. On August 6th, the Democratic Party officially nominated Governor Walz as our vice presidential candidate. While Governor Walz's nomination has already been certified, we couldn't miss the opportunity to celebrate this future vice president's integrity, commitment, decency, and service to our nation. The chair will entertain a motion to ceremonially confirm Governor Walz's selection as the Democratic Party's vice presidential nominee. We have a motion. Is there a second? We have a second. We will now have a voice vote on the motion to ceremonially confirm our vice presidential nominee. All in favor of the motion, please proudly say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. I'm thrilled to proudly reaffirm Tim Walz as our Democratic nominee for vice president. Yes, USA. Pursuant to our convention rules, Governor Walz has been invited to make an acceptance speech, which he will deliver on Wednesday, August 21st. Thank you, my friends. Delegates, please welcome to the stage co-chair Peggy Flanagan to resume chairing our convention.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, good evening, and welcome to the first night of the Democratic National Convention. I'm Peggy Flanagan, Lieutenant Governor of Minnesota, and I am thrilled to be here in Chicago with Democrats from across the country to rally around Kamala Harris and Tim Walz and their vision for America. It's been 8 years since we last came together as a party, and I can feel the excitement in this arena. It's filled with energy and with joy. Our theme tonight is for the people. We'll hear from union leaders, civil rights advocates, and our fellow citizens. And we'll hear from our president, Joe Biden, who has been a champion for the people for his entire life. My name in the Ojibwe language is Gigi Wewedam Ukwe, or in English, speaks with a clear and loud voice woman. I'm a member of the White Earth Nation, and my family is the Wolf Clan. And the role of our clan is to ensure that we never leave anyone behind. That's why I am supporting Kamala Harris and Tim Walz to be the next president and vice president of the United States. For almost 6 years, I've worked side by side with Governor Walz. I've seen how hard he's worked for Minnesota to be the best place for kids to grow up. He does it all with a big heart, a buffalo plaid jacket, and a bottomless bag of snacks. Nutter Butters, cheese curds, and Diet Dew. Every time we meet, he brings something for me, because he's always got my back. And when he's vice president, he will always have yours. He and Kamala Harris have spent their lives fighting for you, for your family, for your future. So whether you're a lifelong Democrat or just tuning in, thank you for being part of this evening. 4 years ago, the COVID pandemic upended our lives. My brother Ron was the second person to die of COVID in the state of Tennessee. We couldn't see him. We couldn't have a memorial. And millions of American families went through the same thing. Our communities were suffering. Our economy was struggling. And Donald Trump was playing games. Our country was brought to the brink by his failure to respond. But the Biden-Harris administration stepped in with quick and decisive action. They contained the virus, created millions of jobs, and invested in our nation's future. Under their leadership, America began to heal.
Are there words about a pandemic at this point?
No, we're not at all. We have it totally under control. We think we have it very well under control. We pretty much shut it down. A lot of people think that goes away in April. With the heat, we're in very good shape. Because of all we've done, the risk to the American people remains very low. View this the same as the flu. It's going to disappear. One day, it's like a miracle. It will disappear. We all together have done a very good job.
We think the death will be at a very low number.
I see the disinfectant. Is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? I'm taking it. Hydroxychloroquine.
When?
Right now, yeah. You can test too much. You do know that.
Who says that?
Oh, just read the manuals, read the books.
Manual?
Read the books.
Manual?
I think it's under control. I'll tell you what.
How? 1,000 Americans are dying a day.
They are dying. That's true. It is what it is.
Help is on the way, and it is long overdue.
the $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill to get stimulus aid directly to struggling Americans.
Our plan is about what we need to do around a national strategy for contact tracing, for testing, for administration of the vaccine, and making sure that it will be free for all.
Tonight, the U.S. is nearing a major milestone in the fight against the coronavirus. The U.S. is about to deliver the 200th million COVID shots since President Biden took office, beating his target by about a week. Millions of American students returned to school earlier this month after more than a year of remote learning. Sports venues are filling up and concerts are getting scheduled.
I'm feeling great. Business is definitely ramped up.
I'm so thankful.
To be able to serve our customers again after all this, it's a blessing.
Please welcome Illinois Representative Lauren Underwood.
COVID was the worst public health crisis in a century. Donald Trump failed us. But Joe Biden and Kamala Harris got it under control. Donald Trump said, "It is what it is." Joe Biden and Kamala Harris said, "Help is on the way." Democrats in Congress tried to lower the cost of health care. Donald Trump tried to take our health care away. We tried to expand Social Security and Medicare. Donald Trump tried to cut them year after year after year. He took the COVID crisis and turned it into a catastrophe. We can never let him be our president again. As a registered nurse, I care deeply about making healthcare more affordable. As someone with a pre-existing condition, I am determined to protect the people who are most at risk. And as the youngest Black woman ever elected to Congress, I am painfully aware that Black women, especially pregnant women and new moms, were more likely to die from COVID. I wrote the Momnibus to protect those women and to address the maternal health crisis. And that bill was introduced and championed by Senator Kamala Harris. Because she protects the people who are most vulnerable. She's done it for her whole career. As Vice President, she and President Biden passed my legislation to make health care more affordable. And now, 4 out of 5 Americans can get covered through the Affordable Care Act for $10 or less per month. And under the Biden-Harris administration, the number of uninsured Americans hit an all-time low. 4 years ago, it was not safe to hold a convention like this. But tonight, thousands have gathered in this arena in my home state of Illinois to make sure Kamala Harris is the next president of the United States. We have come so far these past 4 years, and we're not going back. Thank you.
My name is Rich Logis. I live in Florida, and until 2 years ago, I was a full-fledged member of MAGA. I believed Trump. I was a MAGA pundit. I had my own podcast. I was in a state of panic, terrified that Democrats were destroying our country. When the pandemic hit, we needed leadership, but we were given almost nothing. It was a major betrayal to the country. So I finally stepped outside the MAGA echo chamber. I stopped listening to what Trump said and looked around with my own eyes. and I realized he had been lying about pretty much everything. Lying is Trump's toxic superpower. He's ripped apart families, communities, our whole country. So this is my message to all the Republicans and independents who are watching. People like me who voted for and believed in Trump. I made a grave mistake, but it's never too late to change your mind. You don't need to agree with everything you hear tonight to do what is right. We need to be able to trust our leaders. That's why I'm all in for Kamala Harris.
Please welcome California Representative Robert Garcia.
Thank you. Thank you. We all remember. We all remember the world in 2020, where we were, and for some of us, who we lost. Now, I was in my second term as mayor of Long Beach, California. And my mom was a healthcare worker. Like many of you, I watched in terror and horror as the COVID pandemic consumed our lives. As mayor, I fought for more hospital beds, for more tests, and to make masks more accessible. What we needed at that moment was national leadership. But instead, we got Donald Trump. While schools closed and dead bodies filled morgues, Donald Trump downplayed the virus. He told us to inject bleach into our bodies. He peddled conspiracy theories across the country. We lost hundreds of thousands of Americans and our economy collapsed. Now, that summer of 2020, my mom and my stepfather both died of the COVID pandemic. And I miss them every single day. So when Donald Trump and his MAGA extremists, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, downplay the horror of the pandemic, it should make us all furious. Now, I will never forget when Kamala Harris called me after my parents died. She told me about her own story, about losing her own mother, and that she was praying for me at that very moment. Now, we all know that later that year, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were elected president and vice president. And what a difference they made together. They got people vaccinated. They got the virus under control. They safely reopened our schools. And they passed the American Rescue Plan. A historic economic package that helped small businesses and created jobs all across the country. Thank you, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Now, I am a proud immigrant who came to the United States as a young child. We grew up poor. English was our second language, and we often, like many immigrant families, struggled to get by. But my mom, she moved here to the United States because she believed in the American dream. I'll never forget the day that I became a United States citizen. I raised my right hand and I pledged an oath to protect and to love this country. It was the proudest day of my life. My mom taught me to love this country. She taught me that real American patriotism is not about screaming and yelling America first. Real American patriotism is loving your country so much that you want to help the people in your country. That is American patriotism. And we all know that Kamala Harris understands and knows this as well. Kamala Harris is ready to lead this country. We can all remember 2020. We can all remember the horrors of Donald Trump. But let's remember, most importantly, tonight and every single day this week, that we are not going back. Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Ryan from Kamala HQ. And we have a little game we like to play here called Two Lies and a Lie. We list out 3 things Donald Trump has said, and then we try to figure out if any one of them is true, which they're not. Let's play. First up, jobs. Trump claims his administration created more jobs than we ever had before. He says we had the greatest economy ever, and then we got hit with COVID, and he says he created a manufacturing jobs miracle. Let's dig in. More jobs than we ever had before? Trump lost 3 million jobs. In fact, he's the first president to lose jobs since Herbert Hoover. What about this claim that it was the greatest economy ever and only COVID tanked it? Once again, no. Let's take a look at his track record on jobs before COVID as compared to the Biden-Harris administrations. What do you know? Hardly the most successful ever. And about his supposed manufacturing miracle, Trump talked a big game, but actually lost 178,000 manufacturing jobs. And just to be clear, it wasn't just COVID here either. Manufacturing jobs were already on their way down before the pandemic. So that's round 1. And it looks like what we have here is 2 lies and another lie. You get the hang of it? I'll see y'all in a little bit.
Donald Trump downplayed COVID while Americans were living in fear. He lied about creating jobs while our communities were fighting to survive. But the Biden-Harris administration stepped up. They actually took decisive action to create jobs, support small businesses, and rebuild a stronger and more resilient economy. Kamala Harris is a leader we can trust, even in our most challenging moments, especially in those moments. Donald Trump dithers, Kamala Harris delivers. Donald Trump abandons vulnerable people, Kamala Harris protects them. Donald Trump bullies scientists, Kamala Harris believes them. Our next 2 speakers will tell us why that's so important. Please welcome Brian Wallach and Sandra Abravaya.
In 2008, we met while working on the Obama-Biden campaign. We found our way there because we believe in the power of organizing. Then we found each other. The day we brought our second daughter home from the hospital, Brian was diagnosed with ALS. I was told I had 6 months to live. That was 7 years ago. We could not change Brian's diagnosis, but we knew how to organize. So we co-founded a nonprofit called I Am ALS, and thousands of terminally ill patients fought for new therapies, $1 billion to fund ALS research, and earlier access to treatments, all of which President Biden signed into law. We will also keep fighting alongside patients living with Parkinson's, young onset dementia, and Alzheimer's. We've seen just how relentless activism can beat the odds, just like what Brian has been doing for 7 years. And that is what we need right now to elect Kamala Harris. She's the daughter of a breast cancer researcher. She knows the promise of science and that patients need to be able to get the care they need wherever they live. We all want to make life better for the next generation and believe that people like Brian can be the first generation of survivors. And we can make life better for our caregivers, too. Brian and I are still driven by hope and by faith in what we can do collectively, and that includes the power of our vote. This November, we are voting for our future. Because we plan to be around for it.
Please welcome Illinois Senator Dick Durbin.
I've known Brian and Sandra for years. In fact, Sandra was my personal press secretary. You will not find a more courageous couple. Let's give Brian and Sandra another round of applause. In every election campaign, we Democrats talk about jobs. Now forget for a moment Donald Trump's wild claims. He lost millions of jobs in America. He promised to bring back manufacturing jobs, but he failed. He promised to deliver infrastructure, but he failed. His record was defined by failure. To put it another way, Donald Trump is like a bad boss. You want time off to take care of your sick parents? Ask Donald Trump. Denied. In Donald Trump's America, there is no paid family leave. Want to have a child? but need IVF? Too bad. That's shut down too. Want a pay raise? Too bad. The boss just gave himself one, so there's nothing left for you. Donald Trump reminds us of a boss we all had. The guy who thinks he's a very stable genius, but is driving the company into the ground. Now get this. Donald Trump did make history. Let's give him credit. He is one of only 2 presidents in the history of the United States to leave office with fewer Americans working than when he started. Now he wants a chance to make America unemployed again. On the other hand, let's take a look at the record of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They recovered all those millions of jobs that Trump watched slip away. They added over 6 million jobs on top of that. 16 million jobs in total. 16 million. Today, more roads are getting fixed, more factories are being built, more Americans are working construction, and more auto workers are making cars than on any month when Trump was president. And we know behind every job is a person or community forever changed. Data centers in Wisconsin, semiconductors in Pennsylvania, electric vehicles in Michigan. Yes. Hello, Michigan. These investments mean strong economy, growing public schools, and well-funded, well-staffed first responders. These investments mean hope. That's what Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are fighting for. They'll fight for the places that are too often left behind. Fight to change lives and uplift communities. Fight to bring back American manufacturing. My friend, Ed Smith, a giant of the Illinois laborers, he's a great fellow. We lost him this year. But Ed Smith told us there's joy in this battle. When we win, we help people buy their first homes, send their kids to college, and retire with dignity. Incidentally, that happens to be my family's story too. My mom and dad worked for the railroad, and because we were a strong union family, we were able not just to get by, but to get ahead. That's the American economy Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are fighting for. Let's join that fight and build it together. Now let's hear from some union workers on the ground in Arizona, thanks to the Biden-Harris administration investment in America.
Welcome to Phoenix. Donald Trump said he'd bring back American manufacturing, but Joe Biden and Kamala Harris actually did it. Thanks to them, plumbers and pipe fitters like us are building the factories, semiconductor plants, and data centers of the future. We are hard at work in Phoenix, Mesa, Goodyear, Chandler, and more. Our neighborhoods, schools, and local businesses are growing. Sometimes we have so many projects that we send fabrication out to other states. Our local union is now up to 4,800 trades members. That's up from 2,800 in 2020, thanks to Joe and Kamala.
And it's an exciting time for us in the next generation. Our apprenticeship program now trains over 1,100 people a year. Every year at local high schools, when they announce what graduated seniors are doing next, more and more of these kids are joining the trades. My son is a senior in high school this year, and he plans to join us. Not just for the great career and the financial security that all us parents want for our kids, but it's because he's excited to work on the cutting edge of innovation. Kamala Harris will keep investing in American manufacturing. With her commitment, there's nothing that us American workers can't build.
Please welcome Ohio Representative Joyce Beatty.
Good evening. I'm Joyce Beatty, and I'm proud to represent Ohio in Congress. I was born in the Buckeye State, and I've never left. Now, J.D. Vance likes to talk about how he's from Ohio, but as soon as he could, He ran away to Yale and Silicon Valley, cozying up with billionaires while trashing our communities. JD has been our senator for 18 months. And what has he done for hardworking Americans? Nothing. He's been busy writing the foreword to the book from the Project 2025 guy. While JD and Donald Trump have been sharing conspiracy theories from the darkest corners of our internet, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have been busy expanding access to the internet, while the other guys have been criticizing women without children. Joe and Kamala have been expanding the child tax credit. And let me just tell you, cutting the poverty rate for our children. Kamala and Joe Biden have been also at the same time reducing the price of health care for our seniors. And yes, securing a cap of $35 on insulin. And as JD and Trump, they want to take us back to the past. Kamala and Joe have been bringing the jobs of the future to America today. With the CHIPS Act, a $280 billion investment. And that's not just a big number. It means new semiconductor plants and thousands of good-paying jobs. You see, I worked with Kamala to pass it, and I saw her leadership style up close, a rare combination of brilliance, legal expertise, and patience. You see, it's simple. JD and Trump like to talk about states like Ohio, but Kamala and Joe actually get stuff done for us. And so does our next vice president and my good friend, Governor Tim Walz. America, are you ready to build on our progress? Are you ready to turn out for leaders who know that action speaks louder than words? Are you ready to vote for Kamala Harris? Are you ready to put people over politics once and for all? Well, the era of joy and freedom is up on us. And now it is on us to go seize it. Thank you. God bless you.
Please welcome AFSCME President Lee Saunders, SEIU President April Barrett, LIUNA General President Brent Booker, IBEW International President Ken Cooper, CWA President Claude Cummings, and AFL-CIO President Liz Schuler.
Union, yes. Union, yes. Union, yes. Union, yes. All right. I'm Lee Saunders, president of AFSCME, a union of 1.4 million public service workers in healthcare, corrections, sanitation, and more. 4 years ago, we faced a pandemic and a recession with a president who didn't care one bit what working people were going through. Enter Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Within weeks, they passed the American Rescue Plan, pulling the economy back from the brink and putting us back to work. They're guided by a basic principle: more freedom for working people, including the freedom to join a union. So this November, we're moving forward with Kamala Harris as our president.
And I am the president of SEIU, representing 2 million service and care workers. We're all in for Kamala Harris because Kamala Harris has always been all in for us. Vice President Harris joined fast food workers on the picket line, and she walked a day in the shoes of a home care worker. She shares our vision for a modern-day labor movement, a movement that meets the needs of workers in the 21st century, and an economy that is ready for the future. It is going to be together that we write new rules to make it easier for all workers to join a union. And we are going to build a younger, darker, hipper, fresher, sneaker-wearing labor movement. A movement that is going to be more inclusive and built for the middle class. And we are going to end poverty wage work for once and for all. So let's do the work. Let's elect Kamala Harris so that together we will usher in a new era of worker power, and together we will win the future. Let's go get it.
I'm Brent Booker, and I'm proud to represent LIUNA, the Laborers International Union of North America. We're construction workers, public employees, and postal mail handlers. For decades, we've fought for more investment in our infrastructure. While Trump made empty promises, the Biden-Harris administration delivered. Now we're rebuilding highways, bridges, and tunnels, and powering a clean energy and manufacturing boom. Thanks to them, our members can buy a home, put their kids through school, retire with dignity. As president, Kamala Harris will keep fighting for workers who are building America. Hello, I'm Kenny Cooper, representing 840,000 IBW members, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. The IBW powers America, from fire alarms to solar farms, nuclear plants to battery plants, storm restoration to power lines, and we've been doing it for over 130 years. Today, we're building a new energy future while providing great paying jobs and a stable retirement for all working families. Every step of the way, Kamala Harris has been there for us. She's bringing back American manufacturing to forgotten places throughout our country. She cast the deciding vote to save our pension plans. She's lifted our apprentices up all over the nation. And guess what? She's not afraid to use the word union. She has came through for all of us, and it's our turn to come through for her. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Claude Cummings, Jr., President of CWA, the Communication Workers of America. We all saw the digital divide during the pandemic. Millions of American families didn't have access to high-speed internet at home. Too many kids were forced to go online class in McDonald's parking lots. But as Vice President, Kamala Harris helped pass the largest investment in broadband ever. She gave CWA members a seat at the table so we could work to connect every household to the internet while creating good union jobs. Listen, we don't play at CWA. And we're fired up. Are you fired up tonight? Are you fired up? Are you fired up? We're fired up to work with our next president, Kamala Harris.
I'm Liz Schuler, president of the AFL-CIO. Representing nearly 13 million American workers. This election is about two economic visions. One where families live paycheck to paycheck, where people have no right to join a union. A CEO's dream, but a worker's nightmare. Or an opportunity economy, where we lower the costs of groceries, prescriptions, and housing. Where we go after big pharma, corporate landlords, and price gougers. Where there's no such thing as a man's job or a woman's job, or like Donald Trump would say, a black job. Just a good union job. That's the future our President Joe Biden has fought for. And that's the future Kamala Harris and Tim Walz will keep fighting for. Let's build it together.
Please welcome Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass.
Are you as excited as I am? I've known Kamala Harris for almost 20 years. Our bond was forged years ago by a shared commitment to children, a belief that it is everyone's responsibility to care for every child, no matter where they come from and no matter who their parents are. Kamala knows that each generation has an obligation to the next. That's why when I was Speaker of the State Assembly and she was a prosecutor, we fought to address youth homelessness and reform the child welfare system. We wanted to make sure that California's foster youth aren't cut off and left on their own the day they turn 18. As Attorney General, Kamala created our state's Bureau of Children's Justice and worked to give children in the juvenile justice system the support they needed. And when I asked her to swear me in, the first woman vice president, swearing in the first woman mayor of Los Angeles, we knew we were sending a message to young girls everywhere that they too can lead. Now, I know Kamala, and she feels the importance of this work in her bones. When Kamala meets a young person, you can feel her passion. You can feel her heart, and you can feel her fearlessness. That is what defines a commitment to children, being willing to fight fiercely for every child. And trust me, Kamala has done that her entire life. So this November, we're gonna fight to elect Kamala Harris as the next president of these United States.
Please welcome Grammy-nominated country music star, Mickey Guyton.
How y'all doing? The lines on the interstate, the dust on the back road. We're a Friday night football game. The lighters at a rock show. We're the night shift, smoke break, high school heartache, driving with the windows down. We're the dance floors, church pews, suit and ties, tattoos, one big small town. Ain't we all? Ain't we all? Hotel Bible, hand-me-down, Taylor Lane, Daisy Dukes, Dookie Briggs, James Brown, James Dean. We're cold beer, champagne, millionaires, fast and change, and everything in between. Ain't we all? Ain't we all American? Ain't we all? Ain't we all American? We got the same story, the same stripes. Just wanna live that good life. Ain't we all? Ain't we all American? Are you ready? same stripes. Just wanna live that good life. Ain't we all? Ain't we all American? No matter your race, your creed, or your color, we're all Americans. And always remember that. Woo! All American. Thank you so much.
As we look ahead to our collective future, it's important to reflect on all the incredible progress that we've made in the last 4 years. The Biden-Harris administration laid the groundwork for a stronger, more resilient nation. They invested in critical infrastructure, delivered relief when disaster struck, and made healthcare more affordable. Kamala Harris cares. And unlike Donald Trump, she has a plan, not just for the next 4 or 8 years, but for generations to come. Now, let's hear from some of my fellow state executives about how Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are investing in the long-term future for our nation.
Okay, go.
I'm Pennsylvania's Lieutenant Governor Austin Davis. I'm the proud son of a union bus driver from Pittsburgh. Every day, my dad would come home and tell me about how our roads and bridges were in disrepair. President Trump promised us Infrastructure Week over and over again. He really didn't care, though, and it never happened. But President Biden and Vice President Harris are on our side. They brought together Democrats and Republicans to get it done. We got I-95 in Philly fixed in less than 2 weeks. We repaired the Fern Hollow Bridge in Pittsburgh in record time. Right now, we're repairing roads and bridges across Pennsylvania, including in Pittsburgh, the city of bridges. And Vice President Harris is looking forward. She's committed to keeping our infrastructure safe and modern. When I think about the future, I think about my daughter Harper and all of America's children. Investing in them means investing in our infrastructure. It means replacing millions of lead pipes. It means providing clean air, clean water, safe roads and bridges, not just for us, but for generations to come. That's the legacy that President Biden is leaving our children. Let's keep building bridges to the future with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Let's work.
In Wisconsin, we also need leaders by our side. I'm Wisconsin's Lieutenant Governor, Sarah Rodriguez, but long before I took office, I was a registered nurse. I served in the Peace Corps at the height of HIV/AIDS and in Baltimore emergency rooms at the height of the heroin and gun violence epidemics. During the COVID pandemic, Trump and Wisconsin Republicans failed to protect our health. That's why I ran for office and flipped a red district blue. Because once a nurse, always a nurse. Now Trump is promising to terminate the Affordable Care Act, meddling in personal decisions between a woman and her doctor, and threatening to slash Medicare. Vice President Harris fights for our health. She'll defend women's reproductive freedom and protect Medicare and Medicaid. Thanks to the Biden-Harris administration, insulin is capped at $35 a month for seniors. And they negotiated down the prices of 10 more life-saving drugs like Eliquis and Jardiance for Americans on Medicare. Kamala will continue to take on Big Pharma and lower the cost of prescriptions for everyone. Of course, healthcare isn't just about drugs and treatment. It's about freedom. The freedom to make your own choices, and the freedom to get the care you need without worrying about the cost. Kamala Harris is fighting for that healthy future.
Let me tell y'all about Texas leadership. I'm County Executive Lena Hidalgo, and I serve the 5 million residents of Harris County. Harris County includes Houston. Texas Governor Ann Richards said, "I've been tested by fire, and the fire lost." In the years I've been in office, we've dealt with chemical fires. We've dealt with 10 floods, 7 hurricanes, a deadly winter freeze, and of course the pandemic. When that last disaster struck, Donald Trump abandoned us. He spread misinformation that cost lives. Compare that to 2021, when the Texas power grid went dark. Kamala Harris didn't just put out a tweet, she called me to make sure we had what we needed. Over the years, I've learned that Kamala Harris always calls. And not only does she call, she delivers. The very week she launched her campaign, she was down in Texas with vital FEMA assistance right after Hurricane Beryl. Kamala Harris cares. She will never risk lives for the sake of politics. And she's leading the charge to protect our communities from extreme weather. The Biden-Harris administration have announced at least $1 billion to help us with just that, and Houston is thriving. We deserve leaders who acknowledge the threats, heck, the existence of climate change. We deserve tough leaders who have our backs. We deserve compassionate leaders ready to help. That's Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
I can personally attest that Kamala is a leader who has our back. I'm California's Lieutenant Governor, Eleni Kounalakis, but I hold another title just as dear to me, Kamala Harris's friend. I met her when we were both young women trying to navigate the halls of power. I worked in housing. She had just been elected district attorney. We got frequent lunches together, and she was funny and fun. She was also a great mentor. Once, I told her about a professional experience of being minimized because I was a woman. She put her fork down and said, "Eleni, never let anybody make you feel small." I saw her put that creed into action. When Wall Street foreclosed on millions of homes, Washington wisdom was that $4 billion was the best you could do. Other attorneys general agreed. But because Kamala Harris grew up in a middle-class home, she knew that wasn't enough for all the working families who got screwed over. So she put her foot down and refused to settle for less. Kamala Harris won $20 billion from the big banks for California homeowners. And that's because she cares. She cares so much that if you're lucky enough to be her friend, she calls you on her birthday, and sometimes she sings to you. She called me on mine right when I had decided to run for lieutenant governor. She asked tough questions. I promised I'd follow her lead and invest in the future. Together, we shattered that glass ceiling, California, and got to work. I am so glad the country is getting to see the Kamala that I've known for decades. For Californians and Pennsylvanians, for Texans and Wisconsinites, for states red and blue and everything in between, President Biden and Vice President Harris have been investing in our future and are on our side, and we are not going back.
Do you know about Project 2025?
The far right's playbook.
It is Trump's vision for America's future.
I'm not going to be nice.
It will ban abortion nationwide.
I got rid of Roe v. Wade.
Raise taxes on middle-class families. Gut Medicaid.
That's money that funds a lot of medical treatment.
Strip rights from LGBTQ+ people.
Wait a minute, I'm not finished.
Cut overtime pay.
It is going to affect workers' bottom lines.
Give him unchecked power.
And I will wield that power very aggressively.
And it begins his first day back in office.
In an explosive undercover video, a co-author of Project 2025 saying that Donald Trump, quote, blessed the work he's doing now.
He's been at our organization. He's raised money for our organization. He's blessed it. So he's very supportive of what we do.
He doesn't want freedom. He only wants control.
I know Donald Trump's type.
These are the stakes.
Project 2025 wants to take our country backward.
This is our fight.
We are not going back.
Please welcome Michigan State Senator Mallory McMorrow.
Hello! I'm Michigan State Senator Mallory McMorrow, and this is Project 2025. Now, over the next 4 nights, you are going to hear a lot about what is in this 900-page document. Why? Because this is the Republican blueprint for a second Trump term. That's right. They went ahead and wrote down all the extreme things that Donald Trump wants to do in the next 4 years. And then they just tweeted it out, putting it out on the internet for everybody to read. So, we read it. And whatever you think it might be, it is so much worse. Tonight, I want to tell you about just one aspect of Project 2025. Its plan to turn Donald Trump into a dictator. Okay, right here on page 535, it says, quote, reissue Trump's Schedule F executive order to permit discharge of non-performing employees. Now that doesn't sound that scary, right? But here's what it actually means in plain English. If Donald Trump gets back into the White House, he's going to fire civil servants like intelligence officers, engineers, and even federal prosecutors if he decides that they don't serve his personal agenda. They're talking about replacing the entire federal government with an army of loyalists who answer only to Donald Trump. I know. All right, then. Okay. Page 873. It says, quote, conservatives have long believed in either ending law enforcement activities of independent agencies or ending their independent status. Again, that sounds pretty boring. But what it means is that under Project 2025, Donald Trump would be able to weaponize the Department of Justice to go after his political opponents. He could even turn the FBI into his own personal police force. That is not how it works in America. That's how it works in dictatorships. And that's exactly what Donald Trump and his MAGA minions have in mind. An expansion of presidential powers like no president has ever had or should ever have. Now, by the way, if you're asking if any of this is even legal, well, remember, thanks to Donald Trump's hand-picked Supreme Court, he's now completely immune from prosecution, even if he breaks the law. But that's not who we are, because we believe in a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Not the government of Donald Trump, by Donald Trump, and for Donald Trump. We believe in the separation of powers and the rule of law. We believe in a system built up to serve everyone, not breaking a system to serve one petty, selfish man. The truth is, there's only one way to stop him, and to stop Project 2025. How do we do it? We elect Kamala Harris this November. We'll be back tomorrow night to tell you what Project 2025 means for your pocketbook.
Please welcome California Senator LaFonza Butler.
Hello, Democrats. California delegates, make some noise. It's great to see so many familiar faces. And I can't forget the state that I was born and raised in. Mississippi Democrats, let everybody hear you. Democrats, before I joined the Senate, I was a leader in the labor movement. So I know a champion for the people when I see one. I met Kamala Harris when she was district attorney, and I was president of a large care workers union. We hit it off right away. What really impressed me was how well she got to know my family. My wife, Naniki, but especially our daughter, Nyla. And as soon as Nyla heard that Ms. Kamala was running for president, she asked if she could be vice president. So, no disrespect to Governor Walz, but Nyla put her name in first. Vice President Harris and I share a lot in common. We both graduated from historically black colleges. Me from Jackson State University. The Vice President from Howard University. We were both raised by mothers who worked fiercely to provide for us. And we both believe that every single one of us has the power to change the world when we choose to do it together. You see, Kamala Harris has always understood the assignment. No matter if she were the underdog, no matter the bullying or the name calling, she never doubted that our best was still ahead. She knew a better future was possible if we stood side by side with our neighbors and we fought for it. No matter what language they spoke, no matter what country they came from, no matter the size of their bank account. And that's what she did. As a prosecutor, together with law enforcement, she prioritized holding criminals accountable and protecting public safety. As state attorney general, together with students, she put a scam college out of business. After the mortgage crisis, together with families who lost their homes, she took on the biggest banks in the world and won a settlement 5 times what was initially offered. Every time she walked into a courtroom, she would simply say, "Kamala Harris for the people." For her, it wasn't just a professional oath. It was a battle cry. And let's be clear, to her opponents, this way of seeing the world, the idea of fighting for someone other than yourself, is unthinkable. But let me tell you, Democrats, what's really unthinkable. Conning young people who simply want a good education is unthinkable. Stiffing hardworking laborers like Donald Trump did in Atlantic City is unthinkable. Bragging about having ripped away a woman's freedom to choose what she does with her own body is unthinkable. And Democrats, Americans, we deserve better. We deserve a president who is tough, not just tough talking. One who shatters the boundaries of what's possible, not the boundaries of what's legal. And one who wipes the floor with cheats and fraudsters because, well, Democrats, she knows the type. Democrats, that president, the president that we deserve, that president is my friend, Kamala Harris. Thank you all so much.
Hi, everyone. I'm Deja Fox, and I'm so excited to be here today from Arizona. That's That's right. That's where I was born and raised by a single mom. I was a free lunch kid, raised in public housing, and I got my health care at Planned Parenthood. Because of policies that lift people up, I walked through the gates of my dream school as a first-generation college student. People my age are making big decisions about our lives, and we deserve a president who has our back. Not some power-hungry millionaire reality TV personality who only cares about himself. We need Kamala Harris. She'll deliver a future where we can decide if and when to start a family. A future where we can afford rent and groceries. A future where we're not crushed under student debt. A future where any free lunch kid can walk through the gates of their dream college. For young people, this is a fight for our future. We have a responsibility to do this, and we have a responsibility to do it right, and that's why we're gonna show up for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. And here now, with a musical performance, is Jason Isbell. Thank you.
When I get home from work, I'll call up all my friends and we'll go bust up something beautiful we'll have to build again. When I get home from work, I'll wrestle off my clothes and leave them right inside the front door. Nobody's home to know. You see the hammer finds the nail and the freight train's a rail. I guess I'm doing what I'm on this earth to do. I don't think why I'm here where it hurts. I'm just lucky to have the work. And Sunday morning I'm too tired to go to church, but I thank God for the word. I thank God for the word. When I get my reward, my work will all be done, and I will sit back in my chair beside the Father and the Son, with no more holes to fill and no more rocks to break, and no more loading boxes on the truck for someone else's sake. You see the hammer finds the nail and the poor man's up for sale. I guess I'm doing what I'm on this earth to do. I don't think why I'm here where it hurts. I'm just lucky to have the word. And every night I dream I'm drowning in the dirt, but I thank God for the word. And the day will come, I'll find a reason, somebody proud to love a man like me. 'Cause my back is numb, my hands are freezing, but what I'm working for is something more than free. And I don't think why I'm here where it hurts. I'm just lucky to have the word. Sunday morning I'm too tired to go to church, but I thank God for the word. I thank God for the word. Alabama delegation over there. I love y'all.
Kamala Harris worked hard to achieve her goals.
Raised by a working mother, I had a summer job at McDonald's.
Donald Trump worked hard to spend his daddy's fortune. She believes in working hard for the American people.
When the middle class is strong, America is strong.
Donald Trump believes in working hard for his billionaire friends.
I don't care about you. I just want your vote. I don't care.
Please welcome former Rhode Island Governor Gina Raimondo.
Hello, Democrats. Hello, Chicago. It's a great honor for me to be here this evening. You know, long before I was the governor of Rhode Island, I was a little girl growing up there in a middle-class family. My dad found his American dream in a watch factory in Providence. And that job gave him a way to provide for our family, a community for him to belong to, and so much pride. But like so many Americans in the 80s, after 25 years of his hard work, his job and the job of all of his friends was shipped overseas. You know, years later, my dad said to me, "Gina, this happened because our leaders let us down." And my father was right. The Republicans in power who pushed failed economic strategy. Let's just cut taxes for the wealthy and leave everybody else behind. Well, not only did my father lose his job, but frankly, manufacturing left my state. Manufacturing withered in Rhode Island and all across this nation. In communities all across America, factories shuttered, communities got hollowed out, and people were left without their job, without hope, without the dignity that comes with a decent job. And you know, Republican economic policy failed Rhode Island. How do I know that? Because when I took office, first Democrat elected governor in a couple of decades, I inherited one of the worst economies in the country. It was a mess. But we got to work and we turned it around. We turned it around with a pro-business, pro-worker agenda. Kamala Harris has that same agenda. She knows we need an economy where the costs are low and opportunities abound. An economy where people can show up to their jobs with dignity and pride. She has a new economic vision for America. You know how she knows that? She knows it because just like me, Kamala Harris grew up in a middle-class home. Her mom worked to cure breast cancer by day and feed her family at night. And as an adult, Kamala worked to lock up sex offenders and violent criminals by day. And she took care of her sick mother at night. Kamala Harris gets it. She gets that so many Americans work so hard every day and they're barely getting by. And that is not right. It is a fundamental economic principle. Hard work ought to pay off. We believe in that. And that's why the Vice President is committed to building the opportunity economy, an economy that rewards ambition, an economy that rewards hard work. She believes in an America where everyone, regardless of who you are, what you have, where you started, you got a chance to get ahead in this country. Kamala Harris will give more than 100 middle-class Americans a tax cut. She'll build 3 million new homes for the middle class. And she's going to forge an economy with fair competition, free from monopolies. Monopolies that crush workers and small businesses and startups. Kamala Harris will make building up the middle class a defining goal of her presidency. Meanwhile, Donald Trump, he's going to double down on his worst economic ideas. The same ideas that shipped my dad's job overseas. Ideas that don't work. We know they don't work because they never have. He wants another huge tax cut for the wealthy. He wants to put his corrupt buddies in charge of the economy. And he wants a sales tax that's going to supercharge inflation. We cannot afford Donald Trump's failed economic ideas. But here's the thing, the most important thing. Kamala Harris works for the people. Kamala Harris works for you. And Donald Trump is in it for himself. As our president, Kamala Harris will build an economy where everyone, and she means everyone, can find and live their American dream. So let's put her in the Oval Office. Thank you.
Don't know why, but I feel like
I am a lifelong Republican, a former Trump voter, and I will not be voting for Trump in 2024.
My name is Norma. I'm from Carson, Washington, and I am a two-time Trump voter. I will not be voting for Trump this time around.
I'm actually embarrassed to say that I did vote for Trump in 2016.
Donald Trump has nothing but contempt for the American people, and ironically, for those who claim to be his base. He's only interested in fitting himself personally.
Everything he said he would do, he did not do. I do not trust that he can do the right thing anymore.
We've seen what Donald Trump really is, and it disgusts me to my core.
I don't think the man can be trusted. He talks out of both sides of his mouth. He's a very dishonest person. I hate the way he disrespects women.
Voting against Trump and for Kamala Harris is the right thing to do.
Please welcome New York Governor Kathy Hochul.
Hello, Democrats. Are you ready to elect Kamala Harris, the first president of the United States? Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Friends, Like so many of us, my grandparents came from Ireland as teenagers with nothing but hope in their hearts and fire in their bellies. They built their lives in the promised land of Buffalo, New York. A union card meant good work at the steel plant. The steel plant that lifted my parents from living in a trailer to the middle class. Like other families in my blue-collar community, they believed that with hard work, they could build a better future, not just for themselves, but for those with less hope and less opportunity. I'm proud of my roots and the values I learned: grit, determination, compassion. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz grew up with those same values. And those values have always defined the people of my state. Well, most of us anyway. Donald Trump was born a New Yorker, but ended up a fraud, a philanderer, and a felon. He wasn't raised with the New York values that I know. He never had to worry about childcare costs or groceries or rent. He never had to worry about anything or anyone but himself. Trust me, America. If you think you're tired of Donald Trump, talk to a New Yorker. We've had to deal with him for 78 long years. The fraud, the tax dodging, the sham university, the shady charities. We've seen him stiff contractors, rip off workers. He abuses women, brags about it, and then takes away their rights. And New Yorkers are sick of it. It's no wonder he had to flee to Mar-a-Lago. Sorry about that, Florida. Sorry about that. Trump hasn't spent much time in New York lately, except that is to get convicted of 34 felonies. And that's just fine with us, because New York's motto is Excelsior, ever upward. And Trump takes us ever downward. Because here's what Trump never understood. America isn't a luxury good to be bought and sold by the privileged and powerful few. America, we just can't afford another 4 years of that. We have kids to feed, roads to build, jobs to create, real problems to solve. And we need leaders who can get it done. Trump talked big about bringing back manufacturing jobs. But you know who actually did it? President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Kamala. And look no further than the city of Syracuse, where a company called Micron is building a $100 billion microchip factory with union labor. It's the largest private investment in American history, and it's going to create 50,000 good-paying jobs. The Biden-Harris administration has made the most significant investments in our economy in generations. And as president, Kamala Harris will continue to build an opportunity economy for all. My friends, history's watching us. Together, we must protect abortion rights. Together, we must protect the middle class. Together, we must protect the American dream. And together, we must elect Kamala Harris President of the United States. Thank you.
Trying to rain on the thunder. Tell a storm I'm new. I'm a wild, come a march on the regular. Painted white flags blue.
What kind of America do we want? One where we're divided, angry, depressed? Come on, we're Americans. Fascism, we conquered it. The moon, landed on it. The future, building it. Freedom, nobody loves it more. And we fight for it. Freedom from control. Freedom from extremism and fear.
Extremists want to take us back, but we are not going back.
I'ma keep running 'cause the winner don't quit on themselves.
We go forward. That's American. And we need a leader who is for the people.
Ours is a fight for the future.
Kamala Harris, protecting people from predators and big drug cartels, holding Wall Street banks accountable.
A crime perpetrated against our middle class.
Standing up to dictators and fighting for all of us.
I say we fight.
That's our choice, a prosecutor or a felon.
Are you ready to make your voices heard? Promise of America. And are we ready to fight for it?
I'ma keep running 'cause the winner don't quit on themselves.
And when we fight, we win. To be with everyone this evening in this hall and everyone at home. This is going to be a great week. And I want to kick us off by celebrating our incredible President, Joe Biden, who will be speaking later tonight. Joe, thank you for your historic leadership, for your lifetime of service to our nation, and for all you will continue to do. We are forever grateful to you. Thank you, Joe. And looking out at everyone tonight, I see the beauty of our great nation, People from every corner of our country and every walk of life are here, united by our shared vision for the future of our country. And this November, we will come together and declare with one voice, as one people, we are moving forward. With optimism, hope, and faith, so guided by our love of country, knowing we all have so much more in common than what separates us, let us fight for the ideals we hold dear, and let us always remember, when we fight, we win. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. Good night, everyone.
Please welcome actor and director Tony Goldwyn.
Hello, Chicago. And hello to everyone tuning in from all across America. Welcome to the first night of the Democratic National Convention. Now, how is that for an opening act? I'm just saying. Now, as our Vice President just said, over the next 4 days, we will be bringing folks together from all around the country, people from every walk of life, to talk about this nation we love and about a candidate who has devoted her life to public service, who never shies away from a righteous fight, and who always stands up for the people. We are going to talk about the choice America faces in this election. It's a choice not just between two very different candidates, but between futures. We will hear from everyday Americans about what is truly at stake in this campaign. The future of our middle class, the future of reproductive rights, the future of our climate, our security, our schools, the future of our freedom, the future of our very democracy. We will see the vision of our nominee. It is a vision of stability, security, and opportunity for everyday Americans, where we continue to grow this economy by growing the middle class, and where the safety of our children, our families, and our communities are a fundamental civil right. It is a future where, instead of scoffing at allies and fawning over dictators, our president stands up for our friends, faces down our adversaries, and American democracy remains a beacon of hope and inspires the world to take on our biggest challenges together. We'll learn the story of a leader who has dedicated her life to doing the work of making good on the promise of America. A leader who understands the middle class because she grew up in the middle class. A leader who has taken on powerful interests at every step of her career and fought for the rights and freedoms of all of us. And then, of course, we will hear again from the Democratic nominee herself, the next President of the United States of America, Kamala Harris. Because she has a message for us. It is a message that's joyful, not mean-spirited. A message of public service, not self-service. A message of optimism and opportunity, not chaos and division. A message that has woken us up to who we are, to who we've always been. Because Americans are not a cynical people. We are not small-minded. And whether we realize it right now or not, we are currently already writing a new chapter of the American story. And we can dream as big as we want. So I just want to ask you, are you excited? Yeah? Well, good. Are you ready? Okay. Well, then I challenge you to make this the moment you get off the sidelines and into the game. So I want you to text JOIN to 30330 and get involved. Because when we fight, what happens? We win, and we are going to win this thing together. And while we're doing it, we are going to have a whole lot of fun, so let's get started.
Please welcome 9-time NBA champion and coach of the 2024 Olympic gold-winning men's basketball team, Steve Kerr.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. It is so fun to be back here in the United Center. And as you guys know, a lot of good stuff has happened in this building, especially in the 90s. You young people, Google Michael Jordan and you can read all about it, okay? So there was an amazing vibe in this building back in those days, and I feel that same winning spirit here tonight. So the last time I was in a packed basketball arena was in Paris, France. 9 days ago, some of the best players on earth, 12 incredible American men, came together to win Olympic gold. And the next night, I was back in that same building watching 12 more of the best players on earth, our incredible American women, do the same thing. And I cannot think of a better metaphor for what this country is all about than the way Team USA came together at the Olympics. We had players from across our wonderful country, players who have trained and fought relentlessly, shed tears trying to beat one another throughout their careers, joining forces to wear the red, white, and blue. And when we won, the American flag raised to the rafters, the national anthem playing, gold medals draped around the necks of our players, whose hands were held over their hearts. It was the proudest moment of my life. Thank you. Thank you. Now, I could never have imagined that a few days later I would receive an invitation to step into a different kind of arena. And so here I am. I know very well that speaking out about politics these days comes with risks. I can see the shut up and whistle tweets being fired off as we speak. But I also knew as soon as I was asked that it was too important as an American citizen not to speak up in an election of this magnitude. The reason I said yes to speaking here tonight is that as a coach and former player, as a husband, a son, a father, even a grandfather, and as an American, I believe in a certain kind of leadership. I believe that leaders must display dignity. I believe that leaders must tell the truth. I believe that leaders should be able to laugh at themselves. I believe leaders must care for and love the people they are leading. I believe leaders must possess knowledge and expertise, but with the full awareness that none of us has all the answers. And in fact, some of the best answers often come from members of the team. And if you look for those qualities in your friends or your boss or an employee or your child's teacher or your mayor, then shouldn't you want those same qualities in your president? And when you think about it that way, this is no contest. With Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, I see all those qualities. They have devoted their lives to serving other people. Whether Vice President Harris was defending her community in the courtroom, or Governor Walz was inspiring the next generation in the classroom, or on the field, for that matter. By the way, coach to coach, that guy's awesome. Although, I have to say, Coach Walz, way too much reliance on the blitz in '99 against Mankato East. You had a strong defensive line. I would have played more press coverage with your corners and then dropped the safeties into a Tampa 2. That's just me. Sorry. I wanted you to know how I feel every day of the NBA season, all right? But listen, the joy, the compassion, the commitment to our country that we saw at the Olympics, that is what Kamala Harris and Tim Walz have. And it is what our country needs. Leadership, real leadership. Not the kind that seeks to divide us, but the kind that recognizes and celebrates our common purpose. Think about what our team achieved with 12 Americans in Paris, putting aside rivalries to represent our country. Now imagine what we could do with all 330 million of us playing on the same team. Not as Democrats, not as Republicans, not as libertarians, but as Americans who know the greatness of this nation doesn't come from any one of us, but from each of us doing our part to build a more perfect union. That vision is what this campaign is all about. It's why I'm here tonight. And it's why I'll be getting out every day to help people get out and vote on November 5th and elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz as the next president and vice president of the United States. And after the results are tallied that night, we can, in the words of the great Steph Curry, we can tell Donald Trump, night, night. Thank you.
Let me tell you folks in Ohio and in this area, don't sell your house. Do not sell it. We're going to get those jobs coming back, and we're going to fill up those factories. So it's going to happen.
But Trump lied and abandoned Lordstown.
This is about a community.
It's going to be a big change to go somewhere else.
The GM factory in Lordstown did close, putting thousands of people out of work. Because Donald Trump doesn't care about our communities.
All those jobs went away, and he did nothing. He did not do one thing for those workers there. He didn't come and make promises. He came and made false promises.
Kind of lost hope in everything. I don't really want to leave.
But then something changed. Instead of lies and broken promises, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris got to work and brought U.S. manufacturing jobs back, including to Lordstown. Kamala will continue to have workers' backs and get the job done. American workers deserve a fighter, and that's exactly what Kamala Harris is.
Do we believe in opportunity? Are we ready to fight for it?
Please welcome United Auto Workers President Shawn Fain.
All right. All right. Yeah.
Thank you. Good evening, America, and good evening to the people that make this world move, the working class. On behalf of 1 million active and retired members of the UAW, I am honored to support Kamala Harris and Tim Walz to be our next president and vice president. And I want to say thank you to Joe Biden for making history by walking the picket line with the UAW. For the UAW and for working class people everywhere, this election comes down to one question. Which side are you on? On one side, we have Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, who have stood shoulder to shoulder with the working class. On the other side, we have Trump and Vance, two lapdogs for the billionaire class who only serve themselves. So for us in the labor movement, it's real simple. Kamala Harris is one of us. She's a fighter for the working class. And Donald Trump is a scab. That's not just my opinion, that's a fact. All we have to do is look at the track record. When Donald Trump was president, corporate America ran wild. Donald Trump did not bring back the auto industry. When Donald Trump was president, auto plants closed. Trump did nothing. Trump told workers in Lordstown, Ohio, that he would be bringing all the auto jobs back. And Trump did nothing. In 2019, General Motor workers went on strike for 40 days for good jobs and a better life. And Trump did nothing. Talk is cheap. But in 2019, you know who was on the picket line standing shoulder to shoulder with auto workers? I'll give you a clue. Her initials are Kamala Harris. In 2023, who helped bring jobs back to Lordstown, Ohio? Kamala Harris. And in 2024, who will stand with the working class in our fight for justice? Kamala Harris. And that's the difference. Donald Trump is all talk, and Kamala Harris walks the walk. Woo. In the words of the great American poet, Nellie, it's getting hot in here. It's hot in here. It's hot in here because you're fired up and you're fed up, and the American working class is fired up and fed up. The American working class is in a fight for our lives. And if you don't believe me, just last night, blue-collar workers, the UAW members at Cornell University had to walk out on strike for a better life because they're fighting corporate greed. And our only hope is to attack corporate greed head on. Corporate greed turns blue-collar blood, sweat, and tears into Wall Street stock buybacks and CEO jackpots. It causes inflation. It hurts workers. It hurts consumers, and it hurts America. And corporate greed is alive and well in the auto industry. You know, last fall, we achieved life-changing gains in our strike at the Big Three. We even won a commitment to reopen a closed plant not too far from here. We were able to do that thanks to the support of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and the thousands of auto workers that went on strike. But a year later, one company wants to go back on their commitments in our contract. And let me be clear, Stellantis must keep the promises they made to America in our union contract. And the UAW will take whatever action necessary at Stellantis or any other corporation to stand up and hold corporate America accountable. And when the UAW stands up, we know who stands with us and who stands against us. Donald Trump laughs about firing workers who go on strike. And Kamala Harris stands shoulder to shoulder with workers when they're on strike. And that's the difference between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump the scab. Trump is pushing divide and conquer tactics of the rich. It's the oldest trick in the book. They want to blame the frustrations of working class people. They want to take those frustrations, they want to blame it on race. They want to blame it on LGBTQ plus people. They want to blame it on some destitute and desperate person at the border. They do that because they want working class people to be divided and to focus and keep the focus off the one true enemy, corporate greed. The rich think we're stupid. But working class Americans see this for what it is. This is our generation's defining moment. So I have a question for you. Are you ready to stand up, speak up, and show up and put Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in the White House? We need a defender of the working class in the White House, someone who is one of us and someone who knows how to fight. And that fighter is the next President of the United States, Kamala Harris. Thank you.
Please welcome New York Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Thank you, Chicago! Thank you, Chicago, for your energy. Thank you, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, for your vision. Thank you. Thank you, Chicago, for your energy. Thank you, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, for your vision. And thank you, Joe Biden, for your leadership. You know, 6 years ago, I was taking omelet orders as a waitress in New York City. I didn't have health insurance. My family was fighting off foreclosure, and we were struggling with bills after my dad passed away unexpectedly from cancer. Like millions of Americans, we were just looking for an honest shake. And we were tired of a cynical politics that seemed blind to the realities of working people. It was then, only through the miracles of democracy and community, that the good people of the Bronx and Queens chose someone like me to elect them in Congress. And America, in my heart, I know from that same cloth of hope and aspiration, we will also elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz as President and Vice President of the United States of America. I am here tonight because America has before us a rare and precious opportunity. In Kamala Harris, we have a chance to elect a president who is for the middle class because she is from the middle class. She understands the urgency of rent checks and groceries and prescriptions. She is as committed to our reproductive and civil rights as she is to taking on corporate greed. And she is working tirelessly to secure a ceasefire in Gaza and bringing hostages home. In Kamala Harris, I see a leader who understands. I see a leader with a real commitment to a better future for working families. Buster thinks of himself as more of a patriot than the woman who fights every single day to lift working people out from under the boots of greed, trampling on our way of life. The truth is, Don, you cannot love this country if you only fight for the wealthy and big business. To love this country is to fight for its people, all people, working people, everyday Americans like bartenders and factory workers and fast food cashiers who punch a clock and are on their feet all day in some of the toughest jobs out there. You know, ever since I got elected, Republicans have attacked me by saying that I should go back to bartending. But let me tell you, I'm happy to any day of the week because there is nothing wrong with working for a living. Imagine having leaders in the White House who understand that. Leaders like Kamala and Tim. But Chicago, just because the choice is clear to us does not mean that the path will be easy. Over the next 78 days, we will have to pour every ounce, every minute, every moment into making history on November 5th. We cannot send Kamala and Tim to the White House alone. Together, we must also elect strong Democratic majorities in the House and in the Senate so that we can deliver on an ambitious agenda for the people. Because if you are a working parent trying to afford rent and childcare, Kamala is for you. If you are a senior who had to go back to work because your retirement didn't stretch far enough, Kamala is for you. If you're an immigrant family just starting your American story, Kamala is for you. America, when we knock on our neighbor's door, organize our communities, and elect Kamala Harris to the presidency on November 5th, we will send a loud message that the people of this nation will not go back. We choose a new path and open the door to a new day, one that is for the people and by the people. Thank you. Thank you very much. God bless. God bless you all.
Wow. How about that AOC? Good Lord. So Kamala Harris's story begins in a middle-class neighborhood in the East Bay. Yeah. In a modest apartment above a nursery school, in a close-knit community where people looked out for one another, with a mother who instilled in Kamala Harris the core principles that have defined her life in public service. These are the experiences that made her the leader she is today.
The neighborhood we grew up in was a very hardworking, middle-class, tight-knit community. Families going to church on Sunday, kids playing in the front yard. Mommy got us these bright blue matching bikes with banana seats, and we were surrounded by caring adults.
This neighborhood on Bancroft Way, we've spent so much time here. Behind me is where it all began. Her mom, Shamala, rented the apartment that was above the Shelton's nursery. So in the beginning, Mrs. Shelton used to babysit the girls.
Shama was a single mom. Life was not easy for them, but she loved her daughters fiercely.
Kamala herself says that her mom told her that she may be the first to do many things, but to make sure that she's not the last. She's always been that kind of person, a true leader, and very protective of her friends and her family.
When Kamala was all of 4 years old, her best friend in kindergarten, Stacy Johnson, got into something with another kid on the playground.
This one particular day, we had made some clay art, and this one boy in our class had taken mine for whatever reason and threw it on the ground, and it shattered. So Kamala, being very protective, just jumped in front of me and stood up to him. To me, that shows the kind of person that she has always been, to stand up to the bully and to stand up for the underdog and to stand up for what is right.
Kamala carries the lessons of our mother, the fighting spirit of our mother, the compassion, and I have seen it over and over again in our growing up. When we were in high school, my sister's friend, Wanda, was being molested by a family member, and Kamala just jumped in. She wanted her to come and stay with us, and Mommy said, of course. That is Kamala. She can't help herself from standing up for people and standing up for what she thinks is right. She has been that way our whole lives. Being a protector is what led her to become a prosecutor. Looking back now, I could say it was her calling.
Please welcome Stacey Johnson Batiste and Doris Johnson.
Good evening. I'm Stacey Johnson Batiste, and this is my mom, Doris Johnson. We are so excited and honored to be here with you. Kamala and I have known each other for a long time. We met at Berkwood Hedge School. We hit it off immediately and became each other's very first best friends. Our moms also became fast friends.
And on weekends, we would pile into my 1966 Mustang, and Kamala's mom, Shamala, would sit in the front with me, and Kamala and Maya and Stacy would sit in the back, and off we would go to a movie or some adventure.
My mom still has that Mustang.
I do.
Kamala and I both get our grit from our mothers. Kamala has always been a protector. One day at school, we made clay art projects during story time when they were outside on tables to dry. For whatever reason, a boy in our class took mine, threw it on the ground, and it shattered. Kamala jumped in between him and me and said something that made him so mad, he picked up a rock or something and hit her on the head. Blood came streaming down. The school called Shamala to come take her to the hospital. The stitches she got left a scar over one of her eyes. She still has it. That's the kind of person Kamala has always been from the very beginning. Someone who doesn't hesitate to stand up for what's right, to take up for the underdog, and to stand up to bullies. I have seen it time and again, whether the bully is an individual, a gang, or a corporation. She fights for all of us. Before we go, I know my mom has one more thing to say.
Kamala, your mom would be so proud of you.
Please welcome former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton.
Thank you all so much. Thank you. Thank you, my fellow Democrats. Thank you, my fellow Americans. you so much. You know, thank you all. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. Wow. There's a lot of energy in this room, just like there is across the country. Something is happening in America. You can feel it. Something we've worked for and dreamed of for a long time. First, though, let's salute President Biden. He has been democracy's champion at home and abroad. He brought dignity, decency, and competence back to the White House. And he showed what it means to be a true patriot. Thank you, Joe Biden, for your lifetime of service and leadership. And now we are writing a new chapter in America's story. You know, my mother Dorothy was born right here in Chicago before women had the right to vote. That changed 104 years ago yesterday. Think about it. Tennessee became the final state to ratify the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. The state legislature was deadlocked until one lawmaker's mother, a widow who read 3 newspapers a day, sent a letter to her son. "No more delays," she wrote. "Give us the vote." And since that day, every generation has carried the torch forward. In 1972, a fearless Black Congresswoman named Shirley Chisholm she ran for president. And her determination let me and millions of others dream bigger, not just because of who she was, but because of who she fought for. Working parents, poor children, the last, the least, and the lost. In 1984, I brought my daughter to see Geraldine Ferraro, the first woman nominated for vice president. If we can do this, Jerry said, we can do anything. And then there was 2016, when it was the honor of my life to accept our party's nomination for president. And nearly 66 million Americans voted for a future where there are no ceilings on our dreams. And afterwards, we refused to give up on America. Millions marched, many ran for office. We kept our eyes on the future. Well, my friends, the future is here. I wish my mother and Kamala's mother could see us. They would say, keep going. Shirley and Jerry would say, keep going. Women fighting for reproductive health care are saying, keep going. Families building better lives, parents stretching to afford child care, young people struggling to pay their rent. They're all asking us to keep going. So, with faith in each other and joy in our hearts, let's send Kamala Harris and Tim Walz to the White House. You know, the story of my life and the history of our country is that progress is possible, but not guaranteed. We have to fight for it and never, ever give up. There is always a choice. Do we push forward or pull back? Come together as we the people, or split into us versus them? That's the choice we face in this election. Kamala has the character, experience, and vision to lead us forward. I know her heart and her integrity. We both got our start as young lawyers, helping children who were abused and neglected. That kind of work changes a person. Those kids stay with you. Kamala carries with her the hopes of every child she protected, every family she helped, every community she served. So as president, she will always have our backs, and she will be a fighter for us. She will fight to lower costs for hardworking families, open the doors wide for good-paying jobs, and yes, she will restore abortion rights nationwide. As a prosecutor, Kamala locked up murderers and drug traffickers. She will never rest in defense of our freedom and safety. Donald Trump fell asleep at his own trial, and when he woke up, he made his own kind of history, the first person to run for president with 34 felony convictions. As Vice President, Kamala sat in the Situation Room. We also know, as Vice President, Kamala sat in the Situation Room and stood for America's values. I know what it takes, and I can tell you, as Commander-in-Chief, Kamala won't disrespect our military and our veterans.
She reveres our Medal of Honor recipients. She won't be sending love letters to dictators. She will defend democracy and our Constitution and will protect America from enemies, foreign and domestic. Think about it. The Constitution says the president's job is to take care that the laws be faithfully executed. Those are the words of our founders. Take care. Just look at the candidates. Kamala cares about kids and families, cares about America. Donald only cares about himself. On her first day in court, Kamala said 5 words that still guide her. Kamala Harris, for the people. That is something that Donald Trump will never understand. So it is no surprise, is it, that he is lying about Kamala's record. He's mocking her name and her laugh. Sounds familiar. But we have him on the run now. So, no matter what the polls say, we can't let up. We can't get driven down crazy conspiracy rabbit holes. We have to fight for the truth. We have to fight for Kamala as she will fight for us. Because you know what? It still takes a village to raise a family, heal a country, and win a campaign. And America needs every one of us, our energy, our talents, our dreams. We're not just electing a president, we're uplifting our nation. We're opening the promise of America wide enough for everyone. Together, we've put a lot of cracks in the highest, hardest glass ceiling. And tonight, so close to breaking through once and for all, I want to tell you what I see through all those cracks and why it matters for each and every one of us. What do I see? I see freedom. I see the freedom to make our own decisions about our health, our lives, our loves, our families. The freedom to work with dignity and prosper, to worship as we choose or not, to speak our minds freely and honestly. I see freedom from fear and intimidation, from violence and injustice, from chaos and corruption. I see the freedom to look our children in the eye and say, in America, you can go as far as your hard work and talent will take you, and mean it. And you know what? On the other side of that glass ceiling is Kamala Harris raising her hand and taking the oath of office as our 47th President of the United States. Because, my friends, when a barrier falls for one of us, it falls. It falls and clears the way for all of us. So for the next 78 days, we need to work harder than we ever have. We need to beat back the dangers that Trump and his allies pose to the rule of law and our way of life. Don't get distracted or complacent. Talk to your friends and neighbors. Volunteer. Be proud champions for the truth and for the country that we all love. I want my grandchildren and their grandchildren to know I was here at this moment, that we were here, and that we were with Kamala Harris every step of the way. This is our time, America. This is when we stand up. This is when we break through. The future is here. It's in our grasp. Let's go win it.
I think it's fair to say that we all stand on the shoulders of Hillary Clinton. So, I'm just checking. Are you ready to join this fight yet? Okay, that's the answer I was looking for. So I want you to text JOIN to 30330 and get involved. Now, what does fighting for the people exactly look like? Let's go back to 2011 when Kamala Harris was Attorney General of California. The housing crisis had devastated American families, and the big banks had forced Californians out of their homes. Well, Kamala Harris stood up to those banks, and she secured a $20 billion settlement for California families. That is fighting for the people. And that is something that our next speaker knows all about. Please welcome the fearless fighter from South Carolina, Congressman Jim Clyburn.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, and good evening. Thank you, South Carolina. Thank you. Four years ago, Americans were experiencing high anxieties and great uncertainties. A deadly virus raged, schools closed, businesses shuttered. Donald Trump mismanaged the crisis from day one, looking out for himself instead of the country. The American people responded to the crisis in leadership by electing new leaders. Thanks to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, we reopened our schools, brought back our businesses, and restored our faith in the American can-do spirit. Thanks to Joe and Kamala, we reduced the price of prescription drugs, repaired roads and bridges, and replaced lead pipes. Thanks to Joe and Kamala, we are honoring our heroes in uniform and expanded benefits to over 1 million veterans. Thanks to Joe and Kamala, Make It in America is no longer just a slogan, but a movement that is bringing millions of manufacturing jobs back to America. For President Biden's lifetime of achievement in service of his country, we owe him a great debt of gratitude. And we're all grateful for one of the best decisions he made, selecting Kamala Harris as his vice president and endorsing her to succeed him. I often say that we are but the sum of our experiences. In the introduction of my memoir, I wrote, "All my experiences have not been pleasant, but I consider all of them to be blessings." So has been the case with Kamala. Her experiences have prepared her for this moment. Kamala Harris is a true battle-tested leader, a district attorney, attorney general, senator, and vice president who gets things done. While Donald Trump has been bragging about how he overturned Roe, Kamala has been fiercely advocating for the respectation of reproduction freedoms. While Trump has been looking out for himself and his billionaire buddies, Kamala has been fighting to lower costs for all Americans. And while Trump falsely pleads ignorance of Project 2025, which in my opinion is Jim Crow 2.0, Kamala has been offering the American people enlightening proposals and visionary leadership. Having grown up in a parsonage, I often look to the good book for understanding and guidance. As 2 Corinthians informs, we are troubled on every side, yet not distressed. We are perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not forsaken. Cast down, but not destroyed. Our great democracy has been tested, and so has the basic goodness of the American people. But our resolve to remain a great country with freedom and justice